into the Indian Agency in Anadarko in Oklahoma and did some research, took a lot of notes then. And then a couple of years back, free weekend on Ancestry.com, give it a try. So I looked up stuff, and Ancestry.com is the Wikipedia of genealogical information. You can put anything in there that you want to, no matter how untrue or factual it may be.
Wikipedia's not true.
No teacher, professor, or educator will accept Wikipedia as a site.
Really? Wow.
So, there's misinformation out there, and there's stuff that you don't know. You know, that where you came from and how it all came together. We're going to kind of track, I don't know how this is going to work, but, you know, over gathering information, we found so many times that completely different branches of the family. And they're only branches because your mom and dad got married, or, you know, and they all go out like this. They all came in the same place, they tracked around the country, and so many times they spent years 20 miles apart from each other. And then it took 100 more years going across country till somebody met and married, and we came along. It's interesting. So, it's a long family history. We go way back, so we're going to briefly cover the ancient history first, because you have very ancient lines. Angie's going to start first.
Okay, I'm only starting first because the part I'm covering is way back, and so it's more of like, okay, this is where you come from, but there's no direct lineage per se, but it's just the facts that we have, or what we know of, which you can look up on your own even, which I would encourage you to do. But the reason I'm going first is because, and taking just a small part, is I wanted to do something because I've been helping Debbie, but not much. She's been doing it all. She's more organized and smart than I am. Ask her. She'll tell you. And so, but I did want to help out. Then I had this surgery and didn't know how well I was going to be able to do it. And so I said, well, I'll do this much, and if I flake out, then I'll, you know, be obligated to that. So I just have a short part, but do you want me to pass out the things? Or you want me to wait?
Actually, yeah, we can do that. We put together notebooks.
That's the first part of it.
Yeah, it's in there too. Some of them have names in them. Every head of a branch of the family gets a made one. Some of you will have to share. John? That's David's. You guys can look at that.
Kathy? Present.
Don't go ahead.
Don't.
I made it through college. Skipping ahead.
Paper down, pencils down.
4 chapters at once.
Okay. Matt.
Oh, yeah.
Bonnie.
Girl.
See, it's the perk of...
That's the perk of having your parents.
All right.
They had their
Next.
brain made the copy.
As the teachers.
Well, some of these might have a name, Rachel or David, because they're not here. And then there's some extra ones. So, we got extras. So, you can follow along with.
You can follow along with, but you have to return that.
We want a pen?
Right around the corner.
Taking notes?
It had to come to a limit of how many we did because it was getting crazy. But at least everything's reproducible.
Is this it?
Okay, everything's, copy it off or borrow it. Share it around in your family. There are places in there where we have stopping points, and I put
Go kids.
college rule notebook paper in, and you can take notes if you have. And anytime you have a
Couple
question,
pens and pencils over there.
because we're gonna have to, we'll discuss too. But yeah, there's a big bucket of pens and pencils. Take something if you can take it. Write something down.
No,
Okay. So you can't open your
I'm the same
notebook.
Pen,
And,
anyone? Writing pencil?
and in the first section,
But I can't write.
no, you can't write.
actually, if you're using
Oh, yeah.
someone's not here, they're not gonna be taking notes anyway. You can take the notes on that paper
We'll change
and
the
then,
Remove it.
take it with you. Okay? You take notes, get the answers.
Everybody good? 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 Okay. There's more, if anybody breaks lead or something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Without further ado. Okay, if you turn to the front, you can see that we're going to go start with adventurers, and then we'll go to Cowboys and Indians. Right now, we're starting with adventurers. The second page is clan gun history. Okay, so the clan gun, Highlanders. So this is taking me back. So yes, Scottish. So if everybody's always talking about, English, Irish, Italian, Scottish. And if someone says, are you English or Irish or Scottish, you say yes.
Then why did you have red? Isn't that Irish?
Sit out in the hall.
Just like school.
So anyway, what we have here is a tartan. This is the gun. And this is Wilson. Wilson is part of the gun because there were so many guns that they couldn't differentiate who was who because everybody had the same last name. So what happened was William Gunn, or Will Gunn, had a son. It was Will's son. Just like if it was James,
Simple.
Jameson. But everybody goes back to Gunn. Okay? And this is what they call the ancient tartan.
And the modern is
With the
hanging
orange.
over there.
And then there's a little something on the back if you want to read. These are both guns. But that's the gun.
I think I have
It's like
one
colors,
like that
tartans
that
is like
Mom
your
gave
color,
us.
your symbol of your tribe, so to speak, or your clan.
You're separate.
Every clan or tribe have their own pattern.
Have their own pattern.
Each one is different.
Pattern and colors.
Okay.
What are you
So-
always talking about?
I know you all can read, so any of this in red, Okay.
Yes.
And off to the left there it says ox pax, ox bellum, and that's the symbol, and it means either war or peace. So in other words, the gun clan, you could be our friends, or we can kill you. So it's up to you. But gun, the
It just has the,
It's
on the back side. Okay.
so you can read all that, stuff. This
It just talks about
Just
clan
talks about-
history, how it started, where they're from.
yeah, and up it's northern Scotland.
If you
But
look at the
originally
map,
they were Norse.
it is a Highlander.
Okay.
They're from the Norse, and yes, Vikings. So someone said, well, Vikings weren't Scottish. I said, well, Vikings came from the Norse, and they were, because they moved along. And Viking actually means explorers.
Oh, yeah.
And so, but their type of exploring was pillaging. So yes, they came to Scotland, they pillaged. And so yeah, the ancestry is Viking. And
And for the two redheads,
two redheads in the group, that is where it comes from.
Nice.
Red
every
hair,
red
every
hair
redhead,
in the world came originally from
Vikings.
the Vikings.
Go Vikings. Go Vikings.
Oh no, that's the bull.
Hook 'em horns?
Ginger, stick together.
Ginger power.
So anyway,
I need my ginger ale.
so I'll let you guys read through that because it's the pronunciation and enunciation and all this stuff. Is it Caithness? Is it Caithness? Is it whatever? I'll let you read through that. But I'm just going to give you this, what I've got from the surnames were introduced into Britain, which is the Wilson surname, following the Norman conquest in 1066. Okay, the name Wilson was either a patronym, son of Will, or named for a location. For example, Wilson, there's villages called Wilson, and in England. Okay. Anyway, so Robert Wilson's in the Wakeman Rolls in Yorkshire in 1341. So that's where we can take the Wilsons back to lineage. So we're talking ancient. And their enemies were the Keiths. And the Keiths weren't very nice people.
No, we were.
And we weren't that nice either. We weren't either.
We were less nice.
We were less nice, but the Keiths were a little more ruthless. They tried to make peace with the Keiths. They set up a thing where they were going to meet in a chapel, and they were only supposed to have 12 horses. Now there were 12 horsemen and 12 horses that could meet there. And so the guns went in and were praying in the chapel. And so the Keiths came on 12 horses, but they decided they would put 2 men per horse because the deal was 12 horses. So they put 2 men per horse and just hacked up all the guns. So the Keiths were the enemies. Anyway, but gun means war, and which means it's brave and bold warrior. So the guns were brave and bold warriors, and so there's a lot of background of warriors.
The word gun is not necessarily, it has the meaning of
Meaning war.
war.
Mhm. And the Vikings say it meant that brave and bold warrior.
And this feud lasted for 500 years.
Yes. And it was all about mostly land and people and acquisitions. Everybody wanted all the land, wanted the power. Eric the Great is in the, Eric the Red is in the background. Right here.
The T-shirt over there says Clan Gun hanging up there. It's Eric the Red on a Viking ship. So
Eric
there's all the red hair.
Eric the Red was actually the father of Leif Erikson, the explorer. And but Eric the Red was kind of ruthless. He liked to kill people. Anyway, he wanted to be like mayor of this little. He wanted, and so so he killed the mayor so he could be mayor. And they said, no, you can't, win the seat by killing the person that's holding that position. So they exiled him for 3 years. And so he calmed down a little bit in the meantime.
That's the punishment? 3 years?
For killing somebody.
Well, that's when he went to Greenland. So can the guns trace directly from Eric the Red?
Yes,
Oh wow.
yes, he is a gun.
We might be more closely related.
Yes, you'll find out that.
Dad's family is all from Norway.
As we go through
Uh-oh.
all this, you're gonna
Find out your cousins. What a small world it really is. So, like I said, I'm not very good at this. I try to do my part. So this, just a quick through there, this, but a lot of Scottish, yes, is the background. From the Wilson. And it's ancient. And there's weird names. But what I mostly wanted to do was just to say that Debbie has worked tirelessly on this. She's put a lot into this, and there's a lot of stuff here. And I wish I was more help, but
I just have a hard time fathoming 500 years being a,
Battle.
Well,
yeah.
look at Jerusalem, it's being
Well,
yeah.
yeah.
The Muslims against the Jews.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's pages in here that has that information that she gave you, basically, you know, that shows where they were from and the different crests or whatever it was, you know, and all. So,
Here.
okay, so in the next section, there's a page that looks like this book. Okay? And I'm just introducing this now because it goes back so far. So far. And we're not going to cover all that back history. It's a very interesting book. Every head of your families has a copy of it. You can actually purchase it. We had one original that Grandma had. And it's just basically pages now because, you know, it's old. But last year I ordered up from...
Sorry, I don't know how to turn it off. It's sitting the phone in.
I never worked a class.
Yeah, if you were in high school.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, he was a detour right now.
I confiscate.
Take your butt.
I could draw for those.
But anyway, every head of your branch of family has a copy of this, and you can actually reorder it, as we did.
Is that information on these pages, the reordering, like where you can order from the publisher or publishing house?
Maybe in the book, but I don't know.
Okay, I can get that before we leave though, if it's not in here, right?
Well, I have a book too.
But the reason that I go there is because it gives a lot of background on the Wilsons, what Angie finished off with the Ancient Society of Scotland. Then this picks up in the like 15th century or what, you know, and goes on. And there are interesting stories in here. The guy who did this research was one of the descendants, you know, and it goes all the way to the 1950s, and Terry and I are actually mentioned in it because we were the only ones born at that time when the book was published. Okay, so it's a direct thing. And it even shows in the back of the book, and I put that. You'll see
Did
where
you put an
that's in here
address
later.
too where we lived, or
Uh-huh.
that's what I thought. Yeah.
And then if you're interested in being a daughter of the American Revolution, something like that, you're totally qualified.
Good to know.
Does
Our sons of the
does that
American
end at a
Revolution.
certain generation, or is it just
No,
indefinite?
you can always be. If it's in your lineage, you can always be. Because it's actually documented in this book, where the books and the
And that's service in the American Revolution?
yes. Service in the American Revolution. Many of your ancestors, not just the Wilsons. We're going to go through a lot of them. Not just the Wilsons, but a lot of them. Okay? Put that in there because this is the very early part. And we're not going to really go through that right now. You know, a lot of it's a really, really early part. We're not going to go through that right now. Where I've picked up is that several of you with this book said, I've tried to read that, it's really confusing. Yes, it is because it has all branches of the Wilson family. In these next pages, starting with James Felix Wilson, I have condensed it for you. And this is your direct lineage. So if you follow with that, James Felix Wilson was a solicitor to Queen Elizabeth. He was the first immigrant to the Americas of that name. Came from Scotland to Princess Anne County, Virginia in 1650. He married Miss Willis. They had a large family of children, among whom were 3 sons mentioned below. And the 3 sons that we mentioned below is because Samuel was the 3rd one, and he was our direct descendant, our ascendant. Okay? So the first ancestor. Thank you. So the first son was John Wilson,
Sound familiar?
and then Solomon Wilson, and then Willis Wilson. And Willis was a sea captain and on a voyage up the Mississippi, of the James River. He, in the extra story in the book of Wilson says that, he was a sea captain, yes, but to get the goods, he had to go up the James River and, he met Miss Elizabeth Goodrich, whom he married in 1732. His father died before his birth, this is Willis, and his mother remarried. He was then raised by his uncle Solomon, one of the brothers above, and he was raised by his uncle Solomon in Norfolk, Virginia. So, and then Willis was a member of the House of Burgess. When they first, in that time, we didn't have an American Revolution there. It was a colony, colonies of England. And just like their House of Lords or House of Commons, they had the House of Burgess here, which was the ruling, party, the government, or whatever like that. So he was a member of the House of Burgesses. And Willis had 2 sons, John P. Wilson and Benjamin. Again, Benjamin is bold because John P. had his own branch, but Benjamin was our ancestor. So Benjamin came to Cumberland County, Virginia, and settled on the Somerset Estate in 1750. Somerset was was a plantation. He was a grower. And Somerset and Barter Hill, you see what it says, Wilson family, Somerset and Barter Hill branch. So he is the one who established Somerset.
Did it say what he grows? Was it tobacco or cotton or?
Most likely tobacco.